Hello everybody and welcome back to Planet Zoo and another episode of Newtropic Zoo. In this episode we are going to be creating quite a large habitat for the striped hyena. It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be quite high detailed and possibly my favourite habitat I've created in this zoo so far. So sit back, relax and let's create a nice home for our new arrivals. That's right, we are bringing in the striped hyena in this video and creating a home for them, a lovely habitat and the largest habitat I've created in this zoo so far. We started off of course with this custom wall which is going to be the foundation of our hard shelter. I kind of did this building element, so you can see this one element here is the custom wall and now I know how I wanted the actual hard shelter to look. And then I created a natural looking wall, so with rocks and foliage and stuff like that. You see me just grabbing different foliage what I've already used in the zoo and different rock colours what are in the zoo to keep with the same theme. And that's the good thing about when you're creating a zoo from scratch, you can grab stuff from other habitats and bring them over. But what I'm doing here is creating this wall so I can just duplicate it over and add it as a natural backdrop and a natural barrier to run a null barrier through so our hyenas cannot escape. I'm going to do two kinds so it just doesn't look all the same. Remember, this is going to be a backdrop for habitat, so I want it naturally looking and I want it to look like it should be there and not like I placed it there, even though I have, if that makes sense. I'm going with the realism aspect, aren't I? Right, adding some branches and I'm just playing around. You can see me just playing around with different things, different tree trunks, different colours and different foliage and stuff like that until I get something what's kind of like a set what I do like. And then once we've got that, it's easy then just to group everything together, duplicate it over and line your habitat walls in it this way. Just adding little twigs here and there. Remember, it's all about the detailing. It will all come together to look good in the end. And yeah, I've kind of done this in three different elements. So we've got the custom walls for the hard shelter. We've got the custom backdrop walls, what we're going to use as the null barriers. And then we'll create an actual barrier, what's going to separate our guest from our animals. And this habitat is actually going to be sunken down into the ground as well. It's the first time I've done this in this zoo. So there's a lot of firsts in this zoo, quite a large habitat. It is on the grid, but it's not. So the back of it is not going to be on the grid because I want it naturally looking, but the front of it will be on the same grid as the rest of the builds in this zoo. Right, just finishing up these two elements here. We're going to group everything together, move them to one side. And then it was time to kind of like terraform and transform this habitat how I wanted it to look. What I didn't want was it all flat. So like I just said, we're going to go with a sunken habitat. We're not going to go that much sunken. We do want to kind of create a barrier so our hyenas cannot escape, and this is an easy way to do it if you just sink the habitat itself down into the ground, and then if you obviously when you're adding barriers as well, it's an easy way for animals not to escape. And you see we're just terraforming as much as I can, really just kind of build out this area and try to make it as naturally looking as possible. And I kind of just went with the flow. I had no plan, no reference images, I had no inspiration. I kind of like, as soon as I got that wall in, what you can see me moving here now and trying to place, once I've got that wall in for the hard shelter, I just kind of like, everything just kind of like came together. And I've said it before in many of my videos, a lot of people do ask me where I get inspiration from, and most of the time it is just in my own brain. I know that sounds weird, but yeah, it's in my own brain, and it's like being an artist, in it. I love creating things in Planet Zoo because it is like art to me. That's what it is. It's a building simulator now with the added extra of having lovely animals, in this case the striped hyena. And this is going to be kind of like the end of the zoo as well. Not the end of the series, don't get it twisted. Kind of like this is the back end of the zoo. We're going to start building to the right hand side in next episodes. But yeah, that's why I wanted the back of it to kind of like be off grid and kind of look natural and kind of like blend in to what the whole of like the outside of the zoo will look like. So that's why I wanted to terraform it and kind of make it look natural. See, we're just building the hard shelter now. Now I've decided where I actually want to place the hard shelter, and yeah, we're just going to build this out basically. We've got the custom wall already. Obviously, we're going to have a gap so our animals can get in and out to the backstage area. This is going to be the hard shelter, but it's also going to be the backstage area where our not our guests, our zookeepers and vets and stuff can go in and to feed the animals, and our vets can go in to kind of corner off the animals so they can take care of them and take them to the veterinary surgeon. What you see me creating there is another gap, because not only are we going to have this indoor private area for our hyenas and staff, but we're going to have an outdoor area as well. To be honest, I was really worrying about the size of this habitat, and you'll see at the end I really didn't need to worry. But I know that hyenas need quite a large area. I think for 2 hyenas it's something like 1,300 square meters. So I did worry, and I kind of like guesstimated how much space I would need as I was building. I didn't think I'd had enough. I ended up having plenty, so I didn't actually need to worry. But that's why I created that backstage area and that gap, so our hyenas can actually go out of that gap. Again, they've got an outside area which is now private, it's now away from the guest, and obviously we're going to create kind of like a realistic like backstage area. So we're going to have this indoor backstage area and then an outdoor backstage area with all, like, you know, the conservation pieces and brushes and feeding stations and stuff like that, what you would find in a zoo in real life. Again, adding to that realism aspect. Right, just lining up the front of this now and creating a further custom wall, which is the smaller wall, just so I can duplicate that over and complete it. And when complete, it looks like this. And you can see I've added a couple of things onto the roof. I've added these solar panels. These was off the workshop. Just type in solar panels. You don't have to create everything yourself, don't worry. You can use workshop. I'm going to add some vents and stuff like that. I'm going to add some foliage to the roof so it looks like fallen leaves, and then add decals on the roofs as well, so it kind of looks like the roof is kind of like, you know, dated a little bit and torn away a little bit. Right, moving on to the third major element, which is going to be the barrier. This is going to be what separates our guests from our animals and stops our guests falling in to our pit, what we've created for the hyenas, and obviously stop the hyenas getting out. Again, we're going to run a null barrier through this, and we kept it quite simple with the mesh, again, the conservation pieces, and we just kind of like layered them out. And then at the back, we're going to add some supported beams. We're going to use the conservation pieces coloured to black to make it look like metal. I said that about 100 times every video. People have actually picked up on it and commented, which is quite funny. But yeah, kind of like a metal backdrop to it, and it looks like it supports the actual barrier itself. Then we're going to extend it, making it a little bit bigger. Position snap on so we can snap the pieces together like that. And then at the top, we're going to create kind of like kind of make it look like an electric fence, or kind of like a barrier or barbed wire or something like that. That's the look I wanted to do. I've not done it before, so I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different with our barriers here, and I think it looks all right. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. By the way, this habitat is not going to be on the Steam Workshop page. It has got too much terrain to place on the Steam Workshop page. It would be a nightmare to download and place it in a zoo. I would find it difficult. And then it was just a matter of placing both of those barriers in. You can see I've created a path there as well, covered a path with plaster pieces to make it look like a a custom path, sorry. And it's just about placing them in. So we're going to have a center piece here, like you can see me building up now, and we're just going to cover the corners in with the larger ones, and they actually are on an angle, so I've kind of like tilted them in just to give it a little bit different look. Let's add some planters to give it a diverse barrier look, and to add some nooks and crannies for our guests to have a little rest in. Once the barriers were in, it was time to cover up these disgusting jagged terrain edges and just build up something what actually resembles kind of like a cliff edge. And yeah, it was just a matter of covering it, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass. It was probably the most time consuming part of this build, was doing all the rock work and foliage work around the outside of the habitat. But it does make a world of a difference. I could have just left it blank with the terrain, but I thought, why not? Why not just do it and just proper do it full on? So you see, I've created kind of like a set of rocks, again using the 4 rocks of the same colours, and then we're grabbing the smaller 4 rocks to the smaller cliff edges and just layering them around the jagged edge of the terrain where I've used the terrain tool. I've kind of created like a little kind of like cave here, or kind of like a little nook, again to add a little bit more of a privacy area, maybe throw some enrichment items in there for our animals. So they have got quite a large space actually, and I'm not too sure how much space this habitat is at the end, but it is quite a large habitat. And then just layering the foliage in like you can see me doing now, using the same foliage as well, very important. Make sure everything fits. And then again around this side we're going to just layer those little rock sets what we've created, what we've merged together, and then layer kind of like the foliage coming down from the top as well, so it looks like it's falling down. Again, giving it that more natural look. I always say it, the more realistic you make things look, the better it will look. Adding some big trees as well, trying to spruce things up a little bit and add a little bit more of a diverse foliage section in. And then this little section here, again, we're using the 4 rock sets with the branches and stuff like that, and the little kind of like pebbles, and we're just building it this area up to give it a little bit of height, a little bit of high variant throughout the habitat itself, and not just the surrounding areas. This is kind of going to be like a centerpiece of this habitat as well. We're going to add some mud, we're going to add just one little tree as well. We want it to be a centerpiece, but we also want it to look quite natural. And then the pain in the ass was actually choosing the tree and getting how I wanted it to look in my brain onto the game. That's what I find most difficult in Planet Zoo lately for some reason. Trying to express myself. See me trying loads of different ideas and adding different rocks and tilting the tree and just playing around with different ideas until something fits and something suits. And this is what I would suggest you doing as well. It's a major tip from me. If you're not happy with something, just go back and change it and try loads of different things until you are happy with it. Just add in the mulch now, and now this mulch gives the impression that it's quite a mudded area. We've got to cover those jagged edges, of course, because it would just look stupid if we didn't. You would be able to tell it's just mulch placed on a hill, but we want it to look natural and make it look like it is mud. Unfortunately, we've not got like a thick, like we've got thick soil, but it just doesn't look like this. I wanted something really muddy, and I wish that was one thing I would love Planet Zoo to actually add different terrain types and like thicker terrain types to make it look like heavy mud, like you see me creating here with the mulch. Just bulking this area out again with the same foliage and covering up those jagged edges with the 4 rocks. And once the foliage was complete, this is how it came out looking. You can see we've added foliage on the outside as well to create a more natural barrier and a gap between the barrier itself. But we've got some fallen logs and stuff like that added, and I'm really happy how the foliage and rock work has come out in this habitat. And if you're happy with it, hit that like button. Right, let's wrap a null barrier all the way around the outside so we create the habitat itself, and we can start getting the hyenas in, making sure they've got enough space, making sure they've got everything they need, making sure they can't escape, and that they're happy in their new home. So let's just run this null barrier all the way around. And once the null barrier was in, it was time to create the inside, the backstage area. One of my favourite things to do in Planet Zoo. And I really enjoyed this one actually. We kept it very simple, and we added some stuff off the Steam Workshop page as well. I am going to leave the links of stuff what I did add off the Steam Workshop page down below to give credit to the creators, because these backstage area items are absolutely amazing. There's like feeding stations and all sorts. You'll see as the video progresses anyway. But we create this little fenced off area here. I wanted quite a big fence. I didn't want it so like our zookeepers can see over the fence, because they are hyenas. They can be quite dangerous if they want to be. So I kind of wanted it like closed off, but we're going to have gaps in the fence with feeding stations and stuff like I said. So it gives the impressions that our zookeepers and vets can actually interact with our animals, even though that's not really a thing, is it? That'd be brilliant. Imagine if they released an update, Planet Zoo, where your zookeepers can go in and stroke an animal or like hand feed an animal. That would be absolutely brilliant. I know we've got our tours and talk points and stuff like that where there's a little bit of interaction, but imagine actually seeing hand feeding or like helping out with births. That would be brilliant. Imagine that. So we're going to take some items from this backstage area of our aardvark habitat, and again, this is a great thing about creating a zoo. I can create a backstage area that has loads of these items and looks like this in a different habitat. Right, here we are in the backstage area in the hard shelter for our animals. Let's start adding those items. Look how it just comes alive when you add these items. We've got feeding stations, we've got notice boards, we've got all the bits and pieces you would expect in an actual habitat in a zoo. And I created this actually, kind of like a little holder for tools, and I really like it. I can see myself adding this to other habitats in the future. Right, we've got 2 last things to do before we wrap up this video and I'll show you how everything came out looking at the end and have a little chat with you. And that's to create 2 doors. We want to give the impression that these doors are sliding doors, so we're going to raise it off the floor a little bit. And we're going to keep it quite simple, again, with the mesh and the conservation pieces, what look like metal. And we're just going to have one big sliding door which looks electric. And then at the rear, we're just going to kind of create another sliding door what looks like electric as well, what looks like it's coming down. I'm going to add like a cross piece here to make it look more like a door. And hello hyenas, and welcome to your new home. And just look at the size of it, and just look how good it is. Honestly, I feel actually proud of myself that I've been able to create something like this. I never say I'm the best builder in Planet Zoo ever, but I think this might be one of my favourite and one of my best creations so far ever. First thing I want to show you is this outdoor backstage area, what I said I was going to create. And I love it so much. We've got all these bits and bobs. Again, the Steam Workshop link will be in the description of these backstage areas because they are amazing. And I just feel like from any angle, this habitat just looks good. Obviously the hyenas are in, they've got everything they need. I've also put the enrichment items in. I've got one actually buried in here, the scented blood thing, got it like buried in here so that animals can actually go up and encouraged to go up, and then I can get some nice shots of them sat on this little hill. Here we've got like a feeding station and a play station over here on this section, and all the foliage is in and complete. And we've got this kind of like, I actually don't know what to do with this area. I thought about turning it into like a little pond, and then I thought not. And yeah, if you've got any suggestions of what I can put in this area, let me know in the comment section below, because I haven't got a clue. You can see this is where I've added the little education sector, and we've got the guest piling in to get a great view of the hyenas as we speak. But with that build complete and the hyenas now in Newtropic Zoo, that concludes this episode of Newtropic Zoo and this Planet Zoo video. If you are new around here and you enjoyed this video, you will definitely enjoy the rest of the series, so go and check it out, and you might as well subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when I release a new episode. And like I always say at the end of my videos, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.